Hello, good evening. Claudiu, thank you very much for being here. This is the fourth evening of our news rehab, and it's a series in which we're trying to focus on how we inform ourselves. And we had a few guests already. Monday we had Dragos Stanka, and we talked about the economic machine behind misinformation, especially focusing on advertising. And Tuesday, we had the founder of Deep Stash. So we looked at the difference between short-term information and long-term. And then yesterday, we had a really interesting guest from Lausanne, Lei, who talked to us about really how to discern fake news and look for deep fakes and sort of habits that he has to flag misinformation. It was quite scientific deep dive into this. And now we're very happy to have you because you're one of the most respected journalists in Romania. And we'd love to hear more about your news habits just on a daily basis, and then your opinions on the situation here, also around the world, and find out how you research and
how
so
actually
on.
you started to love news.
Yeah, actually, maybe this is a good place to start.
First of all, I didn't expect from you to receive, Capucine, these exaggerated compliments, one of the most respected. No, I'm just a journalist. I was expecting from Christian, but not from you. Leaving this behind, thank you both for doing this, because this is something. From the first year I've seen that something like this is done in Romania, I was proud, you know. I'm finished, actually, when it was in the real world, it was a place where people met each other, where people from all corners of the world can join a conversation. And I don't know if you realize, because you are deep involved in organizing this thing, that you done the next step, virtualizing the conversation, you know. I was watching today and I was amazed by how powerful technology is when it has to put in contact people from all places of this world. We are now, we were joking before starting this, because actually in Romania at this hour, instead of rehab, a nap. So the nap could go better in unfinished news and naps. In other places of the world, is morning. News are born in the morning or in the late night. So something that is news in Brazil right now, it's a late news in Romania. How can you discern from this late? Or technology keeps you informed every minute.
Our own manifesto, one of the line is about the borders. That there is no borders anymore.
There is no borders anymore, and coming back to what you proposed me as a theme for discussion today, you know, the most powerful thing I believe technology brought in the news ecosystem is of something very small that each and everyone can see. It's called notification. You know, I read that Michael Jackson was dead because I've had notifications to Drudge Report. Drudge Report was then one of the most read outlets. I don't know, it's debatable, it's discussable, it's for a lot of us an ugly place to read or watch news. But Drudge Report was back then one of the first places that gave reports in this area. and we have to have sources like this too.
Yeah.
Of course, we can
But
discern.
go back
Yeah.
for us. It's important to sort of try to understand a bit about who you are today and about how you started to love and do actually news, and then also to go to how you inform yourself, because today, even if you want to know the truth, it's very hard. Everything is so foggy. Everywhere are copies of the real news, so good copy that even people who are trying to understand the reality, sometimes we cannot, because we need to research so much to find the reality, and that's why it's very important to talk about this.
The first thing is that you have to have habits. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
You have to be constant when you are trying to keep yourself informed. If you are constant, you will see that, I don't know, if you are not constant, let's take this way, you can reach a point when you are seeing a news and you believe that what you are reading or seeing is true because you have no background. So to be constant in this process, informing yourself, is the most essential thing. When you are constant in reading different media outlets that are trustable, CNN, BBC, I don't know, you name it.
How you know are trustable?
Because you are constant in this process of informing yourself. You can select truth for false news when you are constant. When you are reading about a topic every day, you will gain enough background in order to see, or in order to have questions if the newest information is false or not. Because you have a background. You can see that if tomorrow someone will air or publish on online news that in reality, Unfinished, it's about, it's a place, it's a secret place, where a guy, Cristian Movila, is selling Romanian kids to foreigners. If you have no background about what's Unfinished, who's Cristian Movila, you'll tend to, wow, this is happening in Romania. Yes, I've heard about Romania. They have problems with foster kids and things like this. Can be credible. Even in, I don't know, a civilized country where people are informed, higher education, but you have no background about what's Unfinished, who's Cristian Movila. If you are reading every year about Unfinished and Cristian Movila, if you are reading a new article published online in this area, I was saying, secret place selling kids, you will say this is bullshit. I
Yes,
know
but
what Unfinished is. I know what Cristian Movila stands for. This is not true.
And so if your advice then is to build habits, can you talk about the habits that you've built over the years and maybe how they've evolved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For example, I remember one of the first apps I've installed when I bought the newest phone at that time, which was iPhone. I'm an early adapter. One of my passions is technology. Even if I'm specialized in economic news or political news, I do love technology. I embrace it. I try to understand it. And I try to understand what the implication is for news, and not only for news, of implementing technology for the use of the reader, for the use of the final customer, who actually is the reader. And one of the first apps I've installed on my iPhone back then, after Steve Jobs showed the new iPhone, was Flipboard. I still have it, and one of my habits each morning is to open Flipboard.
Let's go to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
please.
Yeah.
you will be amazed of how I organize it. Because,
So this is what you do every morning.
yeah.
You wake
yeah.
up and you start reading news.
And I'm reading it first on Flipboard because
Okay.
I've organized my feeds there. I've
You put
selected
also the website from Romania?
not on a website, not on.
No, but you put also the news.
No.
coming
I'm not
from-
interested in Flipboard to find or read news from or about Romania.
Okay.
Okay, it's more for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's see.
Maybe.
Flipboard actually, it's a very good app and evolved very as I expected to, because it lets me organize the things I want to see, and this is the most important thing for me.
I never saw it, I don't think.
Yeah.
No, maybe.
Ah, there we go.
Okay.
Okay.
This is what Flipboard is showing me as recommended stories. So the first one is about
Yeah.
Meta, you know,
Yeah. They
the
just
new
changed
name
the
of
name.
yeah, Facebook.
Yeah. When you cannot change the mistakes or recognizing the mistakes, you change the name.
You will see there. I have a mix of stories.
And so you have fed it the sources that
Yeah.
are reliable for you, right? Or that you...
The first feed I've organized are machine learning and technology.
Okay, so it's more by subject, not by source.
No, by
Okay.
subject, because this is what I'm interested in.
Okay.
As I've told you, technology is one of my passions, and I'm reading about AI. I'm reading about trends in AI. I'm reading about, I don't know. Look, Tesla releases Dojo.
Yeah.
You know Dojo, and right now I can talk about Dojo and about what Tesla is doing for half an hour.
Because you're
And I'm a political journalist. Why do I care about this? Because I can see, for example, the implementation of what Tesla is doing with the vision from its cars in news. Tesla, for example, reinvented how to train an AI system and how to cut off the costs for this training in the automotive industry. Tesla right now it's basing its AI system for self-driving only on video. They abandoned radars and lidars and things like this because
Wow.
they reached to a point where they can train only by vision, only by the images that the
They see
8
in the
cameras placed on the car are taking in order to train its self-driving system. And they reached to a point where they said, we can train our AI models, but not renting computation power from Amazon or Google. Let's make our own system. It's called Dojo, you know, and they will open source it.
Interesting.
I
But
have to
going
read
back to real
because
news.
I have to read. Yes, I have to read because I don't know. In 4 or 5 years, news will use
Yeah.
systems like this in order to make engines to separate false from true news.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So there's the news, the subjects that interest you. There's the subjects that also you feel are just useful, or building up for the long term. Are there subjects that don't interest you so much, but you sort of force yourself to keep an eye on?
Yeah.
And
Romanian politics,
Okay.
for example. I
Yeah,
have
right.
to keep an eye.
You have your show, and I was even talking with Capucine on the way here. How you filter, how you check. You are invited someone, and you are invited not necessarily like maybe your producer and so on. And how you do the research on a subject or another. Like you find out about a story, and then you have to talk about it, and then you need to check, and you have very short period of time of checking. How you research, who you call first. This is important for
there is
the
a difference because my show is not about subjects. It's about persons.
Okay.
So I'm not inviting a guy because there is a story, a very hot story. I'm inviting a person because he's a very hot or I don't know, hot person, you know, a public official, a doctor. We are in a pandemic period. How can I check in real time if what he's telling me is true or not?
You can.
This is the question. Yeah? You cannot do this, but you can pay attention. You can use your logic, and you can use your background. I was telling you earlier about background.
The background that you build in over.
For example, or logic, simple logic. We have a big debate in Romania right now if the politicians, the parliament should approve and introduce by law the green pass.
I vote.
Yeah, okay. But you are not an elected official. Okay?
And I will
They have to vote.
Yeah.
And the parliament in Romania is composed by two chambers, the Senate and the Chamber of Deputies, you know, who are bipartisan.
The Senate
Yeah.
denied and
And the Senate said no. But why? Because one of the most powerful voices right now there is a doctor. He's a senator, but also a doctor. And he said something like this. Why to put every state-employed officials to get vaccinated? Because a lot of Romanian people had COVID, but without symptoms. So the green pass, it's useful because they are not tested. They had COVID, but with no symptoms. And he even mentioned a figure. And this is where logic comes to work. He said, 60% of the Romanian people had COVID with no symptoms. Okay, so let's judge this affirmation. 60%. 32% of the Romanian population is vaccinated. If we add 32 with 60, we would have 92% of the Romanians who had COVID, and in theory, they should be immune to COVID. But in the same time, Romania is right now on the first places in the world of people who Romania surpassed Bulgaria. People who are dying each day of COVID from the total population. So logic. If we were 92% of all population immune to COVID, in France, Spain, Portugal, they have between 65 and 85% vaccinated,
Vaccine, yeah.
and almost no one is dying from COVID.
Yes, but this example.
So logic,
Yeah.
common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this example sort of it's true that you need to have a background and you sort of detect the lie right away and the fake from what they're saying. But there are news that
Just one moment.
really infect us so much during the COVID time and even like
Yeah.
more last year. Not that we escaped that period, even worse. But the idea is that
There is no false news that background and logic cannot put down. Give me an example.
are so many doctors that you need to check them if they are real doctors. Like I remember about the doctor that is working in Las Vegas, and everybody's on different channels are streaming him about how he recommend different animal medicaments and so on. And it's such a like
Common
people-
sense and
yes,
background.
and even
Yeah.
all these questions now they are not working with fake news. They are working even smart. Is that true? Like they are questioning through a question, and even smart people, even people that are really reading, are informed every day. They say, maybe.
You know,
Is
I
there
was
an
talking
angle?
1 month ago, I believe, with an entrepreneur, and I was asking him this simple question. Would you get into a business with a partner that do not believe that COVID existed?
what
And
was the
his answer was like this. I would do business with such a guy, so as a supplier or a customer, because I want to sell
Yeah.
my products, but never, ever, I would partner with such a guy. You know why? Because if he thinks that COVID does not exist, this means that something is in his way of rationing, in his way of reaching to a conclusion. In this case, COVID is not real. It's so broken that I will question every minute in
Yeah.
an hypothetic
judgment.
partnership his judgment.
Yeah. And how early do you think the habits can start? Like I don't know of any country that actually has any classes teaching, to inform.
In
but
2008,
Yeah.
iPhone was in its first year, Flipboard, the same. My son will probably, for him, TikTok will be what Flipboard is for me.
okay.
And he has to find his own ways to accumulate a background.
But from what? From TikTok?
No. From what I'm trying to learn him. Common sense and logic. Logic and common sense are the base of news.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then
those are,
do you sit
grow.
with him and you look at the feed and you judge together, or what are?
He's saying,
Yeah, he's asking. or
he's asking,
Okay.
he's telling me, I've seen that, and I don't think it's true. And why?
Okay.
Because it seems so unreal, so with so much lack of common sense. In all periods of history, you will have people with common sense and logic, and people who will
But
not have
common
it.
sense and logic is something that you educate, you grow. It's a process. And this process, unfortunately, doesn't exist in our schools, in our education system. So,
All over the world, not only in Romania, not only in Romania. But why don't you have 1 million viewers on Unfinished?
yet,
You will never have them. You know why? Because in reality, common sense and logic, it's something that a minority have. This is the reality. It will never be a majority who, with common sense and logic, will surpass everything. This is why you have such a selected, a good audience, special people, able to communicate with each other from different corners of the world, because there are good people, essentially good people in reality, open-minded people, people who can take an argument and reach to the conclusion that they were wrong. They can discover new things. They are open to new things, to new arguments, to new positions, to new mentalities.
Yeah. On this subject, is there any instance where you have realized you were wrong about something and had to step back, or
Yeah,
I
of
mean,
course.
in general, how often does it
And how
happen,
you,
or
yeah,
any
how
big
you fix
time?
it, even in
Yeah.
when you say something and because you got a wrong information or a fake information, how you go back in front of the public and say, or do you? Yeah.
With you have to be honest, and you have to be transparent. I've reached to that conclusion because I made a bad judgment, not because I'm bad intentioned or have a hidden agenda. It's just because I didn't had all the elements to reach to a conclusion. But you have to be transparent, and you have to make it very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when's the last time you bought a newspaper, like a paper?
Last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it something you regularly do?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes, I do.
It's important for you? Or how
I
do
do
you
it because,
evaluate?
you know, in my career, I've closed a printed edition of a newspaper.
Yeah.
I've had to.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it was called Gundu,
Yeah.
and because it was so successful, you know, it was so successful, but in online.
Okay.
The printed version only, you know, those prison inmates in old movies that they have
The thing at
chains,
the
yeah.
Yeah. Is that how it felt?
The printed
yeah.
edition. In Romania, those of you that don't watch us from Romania and don't know the media landscape here, in Romania, the printed versions of the newspaper are not doing at all good, because the distribution was put down and corrupted by the Romanian state in reality. So imagine that we are selling, I don't know, 100,000 news copies of the printed edition, but you get the money for only half of the money, and 1 year later.
Okay.
You cannot do a business with this kind of business model, you know. So right now in Romania, there are very few printed versions of the Romanian newspapers, but in the same time, the online reading habits are at its best times ever. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
So
I just want to mention that we normally have 5 minutes, so if people want to ask any questions, I will get them. But anyways, go ahead.
I'm interested still a bit about how you started and where you see the future of journalism or media, and how you want and how you see your child, that where he will take the information from. It's very, in a way, it's sad that all this media, I mean, I see every day all over the world that good media startups are dying because
You're
some.
so pessimistic. I'm not.
Yeah, that's why.
That's great.
And I'm a journalist.
It's good. That's why I wanna hear your.
It's one of the best moments in the news history when creativity, innovation, and unique content can reach its highest points. You know, right now, anyone can write the news. Anyone can make a newspaper. There are few that can make a news article or on opinion or an analysis that can reach every corner of this world. 10 years ago, even if I was the best journalist in the world, even if I discovered the best, and I was writing about one of the best articles ever written in this world, it cannot reach. It cannot pass the borders of Romania, for example. Right now, it's up to me. If I can write something unique, huge, something about a huge story, tomorrow it will be all over this world. 10 years ago it couldn't. Because
depends a lot on the algorithms.
10 years ago it couldn't. Right now you can. It depends just
and how
if you can do this. You know, and this is unique. You can be the best writer, the best journalist, even from the smallest village of, I don't know, India, you know. It's just about you. It's not about the medium, it's not about the big media outlet, it's not about if you are writing for The Guardian, for the New York Times, you know. Right now, there are, or there can be, better known or more read journalists, independent journalists, those that are writing columns for New York Times. And this is a good thing. In the same time, you can do bad things
and have a bigger reach. Of course. We do have a question from Nisa. What do you think of the concept of news detox, and do you practice it?
And we have 1 minute.
I think taking a day off of news or a week or something like this.
Every day when I reach home, I'm not
disconnecting totally.
I'm not reading or watching news.
Okay.
I read them or watch them in the morning.
Okay, so the whole evening you
the
don't
whole evening,
access again.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a detox, and I think it's good for my mind.
Okay, so tonight's the exception. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you for taking your time and have this conversation with us. And I hope we can meet more often.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.